good, you guys? Welcome back to another video, and today's video is going to be directed mainly towards the V6 Mustang owners out there that are looking to get a somewhat nice sounding exhaust for their car. This car is a little bit tricky to be able to sound good because let's be honest, it's a shitty sounding V6. No matter what you do, it's going to sound like shit. And that's just personally my opinion because I don't like the sound of this car. Even though I own a V6 Mustang, and yes it is automatic, and yes it's a base model, it just doesn't sound good in my opinion. But there are some ways that you're able to make this car sound good by doing a little bit of mods here and there in order to make it at least somewhat decent and have a little bit more tone to it instead of that loud trumpet screaming down the road. Let's just be honest here, guys. This will never be an N-Line 6, it'll never be a V8, it'll never be a 4-banger. The V6s, for whatever reason, just always had that raspy tone to it, but in order to reduce that in a little bit of ways, you're able to at least add some shorty headers or even long tubes on here to at least get some more definition within the exhaust instead of just doing straight up mufflers. Because from my experience, I realized when I added just straight up Flowmaster mufflers, it sounded alright for at least somewhat decent driving, but for the complete overall truth, this thing just sounded like complete shit at higher RPMs. And I wanted to eliminate that completely. And what I had found out in order to eliminate that canny, trashy sounding shit that sounds like someone's blowing their mouth into a soda can is to do a full exhaust setup. No one said this is gonna be cheap, but I had found that adding shorty headers personally for me was one of the great ways to be able to tone out this raspiness in the car. One of the most important things I felt like I've added to this exhaust setup was adding an H-pipe to the car. Now a lot of you guys might not know what an H-pipe is. Well, your car comes with this sort of like this H looking pipe style on there from factory where it kind of crosses over as an X but kind of gives that H shape in a way. It's a little confusing, I might be completely wrong, but from what I looked at it, that's what it looked like to me. When I was over here looking at the stock pipe, I wanted something that was gonna be a little bit more deeper in tone. I went ahead and went with an H pipe, and the reason why I went with an H pipe is because I wanted to be able to have something that was gonna be a little bit more toned and something that I wasn't really looking for horsepower, but I ended up realizing though it did give me just a tad bit, maybe a little bit more lower end horsepower. But as for the X pipe though, if you wanted to have something that pops out a lot more, it's gonna give you a little bit more torque, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. That will be a lot more louder and a lot more raspier. But that doesn't mean raspy is gonna sound bad. Again, if you have the right exhaust setup, having a raspy setup can actually be towards your benefit, because if you wanted to have a loud popping, crackling exhaust, having the X pipe would be the best route to go. As for this H pipe, I wanted something just a little bit more toned, a little bit more matured, and I felt the H pipe did a great job with this car. And one of the last things I added to this exhaust, because I kept pretty much everything from the cap back stock, all I did was added shorty headers and H pipe, Flowmaster mufflers, and one of the last things I added to this car to really tone up everything was adding a butterfly switch over on the rear end of the car. For those of you guys that don't know what a butterfly switch is, a butterfly switch is mainly a button that you can click to open and close your exhaust. And they come out on a lot of exotic cars, but you could buy this as an aftermarket option, like for example I did for this car. It's all electrical, and I hooked it up over to my garage door opener to where I can open and close it whenever I feel like, if I want to have a loud exhaust, if I want to have something more quiet, especially if I'm rolling through the neighborhood at night or if I'm early in the morning. Even though this makes absolutely no difference whatsoever, I want to add this in the video because I always find this very unique and cool on Mustangs, and it seems like everyone always does something differently when it comes to the exhaust setups, and that is adding the exhaust tips on here. I feel like exhaust tips are a really cool way to really be able to express the rear end of your car, especially if you have a spoiler, tail lights, decklid, diffuser, you name it, the list keeps going on and on and on. But having that really nice exhaust tips, if you have like a quad tip or you have a single tip or something that's like even 3 inch or even 2 inches or whatever the size may be, I just find it really cool because people have their own taste and their unique styles of doing things. And I feel like having a really nice exhaust tip could really spice up what your exhaust looks like, not even just for sound, but also visually too. Since now that we got all that other bullshit out of the way, you guys came here for this video for one reason only, and that is to see what this thing sounds like. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a standalone where we're gonna have the valves open and while we also have them closed. But we're gonna go for a drive up and down the road, and you guys are gonna be able to hear exactly what it sounds like on a drive. And now this is with the valve open. issues with this car. It just seems like a never-ending nightmare. And the issue I'm running into this car right now is the fan keeps turning on and off. It has a mind of its own. And you might be thinking, well, duh, that's what the fan does. Well, the issue though is that it will climb up to like 226, 230 degrees, and it's just like, I know that's not my car. And my car's fans usually turn on, I think around like 200 to 212 degrees, and it usually stays in that happy zone right there. I've realized that sometimes it wants to kick on, sometimes it doesn't. I've been having to tap on the fan for it to turn back on. So it's starting to look like I'm gonna have to buy a new fan for this car. But other than that though, going back to what we were talking about, I don't know how it sounds on the audio quality of this. From my understanding, this thing sounds really, really good in person. And anybody who's looking to get a nice sounding exhaust setup for their V6 Mustang, I recommend getting this one where you wanna have the best of both worlds, where it's not too loud and it's not too quiet. I'm running DNA Shorty headers right now with a custom H-pipe made by an exhaust shop out here in Vegas, and you'll probably be able to do the same thing at whatever exhaust shop you have in your area. You just gotta be able to talk to them and see what's up with them. I was able to get a custom pipe made, but also too, they cut it, they bent it, and they also provided the pipe. Also too, I have the exhaust cutouts as I told you guys earlier, and that Flowmaster muffler out in the rear with some nice Black Widow exhaust tips. It's pretty much my setup. That's what I have experienced. I feel like that is one of the best sounds that you can get. I'm not saying there's others out there that don't sound good though, but I know that personally for me, I was a type that was looking endlessly online constantly for days in, days out, trying to find the right exhaust setup. And I guarantee this thing could sound a lot better if I put a lot more work into it. But overall though, I'm happy with how this thing sounds. It's awesome, it's great, and I recommend anybody who's out there looking for an exhaust setup, once again, go with the setup I have here. I wouldn't say an affordable price. Everything costs an arm and a leg though. But other than that though, if you like this exhaust content, please stick around for another 20 more seconds because I'll have a lot more exhaust content popping up for you guys. If you guys like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.